Hi, everybody. It's May 15th, 2025, and this is the Backdrop Weekly Developer Meeting. We get together every week to talk about development priorities for Backdrop CMS. Today is a special day. May 15th is the day of our release cycle. So the new version of Backdrop will be coming out today, Backdrop 131.0, which includes some new image handling features and emoji support and CKEditor updates. So that will be happening later today. We also have some other topics that have been flagged in the forum that we will be discussing around file handling and about module handling. So all of that coming up. But to start things off, we'll do some introductions of the folks that are here. We've got a handful of people. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet. I'm the technical lead for the Backdrop project, and I'm calling in from Oakland, California. Next up, we'll go to Justin, and then we'll go to Martin.
Hey, I'm Justin Kaiser in Muncie, Indiana. Oh, I can't turn my camera around. That's a shame. Because I'm outside. The office is a mile that direction, and this is all of our site where people come to fly their model airplanes. So I'm Kaiser JV on the internet.
Oh, that's awesome that you're outside. And are there any airplanes up right now?
Unfortunately, not. Like there will be later this summer. I think somebody's flying at one of the other sites over there, but it doesn't have a covered pavilion, so too much sun.
Great, thanks, Justin. Martin, and then Ben.
Hi, I'm Martin Price, Yorkshire Pudding around the internet. I'm a Backdrop developer in Northeast England, and I'm currently working on a new integration of another open source system into Backdrop. So that's all exciting news. It'll hopefully land soon. But there's also an issue I'd like to talk about, which is in the forum as well. So
Okay, thanks, Martin. Ben, and then Eli.
Hey, my name is Ben. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, and I work for Giant Rabbit.
Thanks, Ben. Eli.
Hi, my name is Eli. I'm a developer for Giant Rabbit. I'm calling from San Diego, California.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. Let's see. So we usually go over contrib. There's been a lot of contrib projects. Looks like 5 new projects this past week. Form options attributes, anti-spam by Clean Talk, comment alter, front page, and watchdog prune, all new modules in this past week. Let's see. I want to talk about the 131 release real quick before we get into other topics. There's not much to update really. We're going to make I'm going to make an issue to track the release, and we'll try to get that out probably in the next couple of hours. The release will come first. I don't think that we have a blog post drafted yet, so the blog post may not happen until tomorrow or next week. But the release is totally on schedule. There's no remaining items in the 131 milestone. We had a couple of follow-ups related to the image styles inserting. There were some issues around lining up the dimensions when an image is inserted and then the file is replaced or the image style is changed. Those issues have been resolved thanks to Indigo Zala. And yeah, we're clear for release as far as I'm aware. There are some RTBC issues that I probably won't address for the release. They'll probably wait for the follow-up just because yeah, it's it's the day of the release, and doing last minute merges isn't usually a good idea. So we will probably see those merges coming in quickly, and then the items that are RTBC may end up being in the 131.1 release. So yeah, so basically all clear for the 131 release. We'll probably see that really soon and be celebrating yet another on time release of Backdrop minor version. All right. All right, let's go over the items that were flagged in the forum. My screen sharing isn't working in Zoom right now, so I'm afraid that unless someone else wants to share their screen, we'll only be talking about the issues and not showing the issues. But issue 6901 is the first one that was flagged in the forum about if the project name is not the same as the module name, then there's an issue where the installer module won't install the module. And this looks like it's actually related to the front page module, which is the new one of the new modules that was released this week. Our new contributors, Swampus, is the one that filed the issue because they encountered it when they tried to publish their module and then install it through installer. It had an error. So let's see. Indigo Zella says that it's a known problem, but it works as designed, question mark. But we can't find a related issue. And I remember some other folks on this call said that they'd experienced this problem as well. Justin or Martin, do you have anything to add regarding your experience with this problem?
I did it with a contrib module because I accidentally changed the machine name of it, or I meant to, not accidentally. Use exposed filter block, and I went off of a recommendation from the node clone module because the module's named node underscore clone, but all of the files in it were just clone. So there's a clone.info file and there is a node underscore clone.info file. And there's a node underscore, there's two module files too with both names. And doing that enables it to install through the installer.
So do you think that was hacked specifically to make it so that it worked with installer?
I believe so.
Oh, that's sad. Interesting.
In the info file for node underscore clone, it says this file exists as a workaround for a problem that was inherited by the 7x version of the module. All module files are named clone.xyz, but they live inside a node underscore clone folder. But no mapping node underscore clone info and node underscore clone.module files. So there was an issue in the node clone module, issue number 8.
Yep, I see
About
it.
this that is closed, I think.
Yeah, because they added this workaround.
Right. So perhaps there is a better way to deal with this.
Yeah, well, the fact that it's only so far that it's only been flagged as being a problem with installer module. There's nothing else, right? And so I mean, there's the confusion, I guess, about the project namespace not matching the module name. And I think we all can agree that generally that is discouraged, not having them be the same thing. The question is like, do we want to formalize that as being a requirement, or is this just an issue with installer module that we should make it work anyway? Because installer module does allow the ability when one single project contains multiple submodules, it shows you and it asks you which modules within this project do you want to turn on. So if you install one project and it contains 5 submodules, it downloads the one project, and then the second step is which modules do you want to turn on, and it shows you all 5 of them. So it knows the difference between, let's download a project and let's turn on the modules. They don't need to be the same thing. But it's funny that there's this requirement that at least one module inside of it needs to have the same name as the project, as the namespace of the project. So yeah, this is an interesting question. So this is issue 6901 that is being tracked in core. That installer module has this specific problem. And yeah, I would, love to hear some opinions on this. Anybody have thoughts outright before I express mine? All right. Well, my
I mean, I
general
think-
opinion.
oh.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think there should be a module that's named the same as the directory, because we've run into this with WordPress sites, and it can get real funky when the plugins don't have the same name as as like the folder they're in. So it seems like it's generally a good practice, and that it'd be nice to enforce it. The only question I have is, let's say that you're upgrading from Drupal 7 to Backdrop, and the directory changes, then you're going to have to handle that in the upgrade process somehow.
Yeah. What I think we could do, yeah, I think we all agree that having the project name and the code matching is a good idea. But yeah, there are situations like this node clone module, for example, that there's something inherited from the old Drupal 7 version. And yeah, it's not good that a major refactor needs to happen. There's also some other, like, it's interesting with front page module, Swampompas saying that they're going to change it to just front module to match the namespace. Also is fraught with problems, possibly because Backdrop will think that it's a different module, and so like update hooks, for example, the update history between the old module name and the new module name will be lost because it thinks this is a totally different module. It doesn't know that they're related, and so the update hooks will start from 0 again instead of being at like 7,000 whatever that they were from the Drupal version. And so update hooks might not run between the Drupal 7 version and the Backdrop version if the name is changed, because it thinks that you've just turned on a different module, not that you're upgrading from the module that was in Drupal 7. So renaming will have an issue there as well.
Is this a crazy idea to have like some sort of hook in the install file that lets you rename a module from Drupal 7 to Backdrop?
No. It's like surfacing that to Contrib would be yeah, we need to figure it out, because I don't think that something like that exists right now. It would probably have to be something kind of like hook update last removed, where it would be like hook update last removed, like informs the update system these updates are no longer in the code, and so you cannot run the update because you're making too big of a jump, like upgrading from Drupal 6 to Backdrop, for example. It would say can't do that. But in core, what we've always been able to do when we rename stuff, which has happened quite a bit actually, as stuff gets pulled in from Contrib, we have the convenience option of just putting it in system module, and system modules updates always run, and it says this module is renamed from that to this, or was merged in. And so we have basically this parent, that we can count on to do the renaming inside of core. But in Contrib, we don't have such a thing. You'd have to have like the old module exist just for the purpose of running an update hook to rename to the new module name. for example.
Well, not if you
Now-
had that hook, right? I mean, not if you had the hook, the rename hook inside your module, it would check the name. The system module could run a hook
Yeah,
that checks if there's a rename, and then it could go from there, right? I
Yep.
mean, it sounds like that stuff's already in place almost.
yeah, something almost. Yeah, you'd need to. Yeah, yeah, that would be interesting. That yeah, it'd have to be a hook in the info or in the install file that claimed basically like, hey, this module used to have this namespace, and it would probably be good if it was an array, just to, in some awful scenario where a module got renamed multiple times, it could claim multiple previous names. Yeah, but that's a, you know, it's a fairly ambitious undertaking for a fairly obscure problem.
Definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, totally valid. Well, what I think I'd I'd like to see though in this issue 6901 is I don't think that installer module should be the way that this is being surfaced. It's an obscure way to say that this is the requirement. That you get bumped into this problem. Our users are running into the problem when they run the installer module rather than our developers seeing the problem at some other point. And ideally what I think I'd see is that installer module doesn't throw problems for our users that are installing modules when you try to install node clone module and it's called clone module internally. There shouldn't be an error. It should just work. But what we should see is some kind of surfacing to the developers that, hey, this is not following a best practice. And that could be something like when the packager runs, it could throw, like when the packager fails to run, it adds a text file to the release on GitHub explaining why the package failed. And a lot of times that's because you forgot to include like type equals module in your .info file, for example. And so if there's some packaging problem, then it will attach a text file to the release explaining why the package failed. That would be a good opportunity to also attach a warning file that says like, this project doesn't follow best naming conventions. So attach like a package warnings.txt to the release explaining that there's something about the packaging that is a problem, but not a blocker for creating the release. And then, I mean, I also kind of think that all of the developers facing this problem probably already know that they should that it's a problem, that their module and their namespace don't line up. But I don't really see that being a priority to give them a warning if there's no solution yet to how do you rename a module. Because if they can't rename the module because there's no core system for renaming the module, then yeah, we're just, to use the PETA friendly twist turn of the phrase, we're feeding a fed horse, right? Where it's like like we're rubbing it in their face that they should rename a module and they already know that. So anyway, the short of it is issue 6901, I think that we should fix it and remove that exception and just allow a module to be installed even if the project name doesn't match. If there's some way of doing that. I'm guessing what's actually happening here is that this is some shortcut way of checking to make sure that the package is valid, and we might just loosen that up a little bit to check that the package that the download is valid and contains any modules rather than it contains the specific module that we were expecting.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, how do you feel about that?
would that be hijacked somehow in the end? Right.
What's that?
Could that be hijacked somehow? Could be a security issue at some point. Like the module looks like a module, but it's not. It's got a bunch of malicious stuff in it.
Yeah, well, that's a separate, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it wouldn't,
And
if it actually wasn't a module, like, and if it just contained a bunch of random stuff in it, then, you know, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, there's lots of problems with the module
right,
installer being able to, like, right now there's this open issue. I don't have the number on top of my head um, that we currently inherited from Drupal, the ability to upload a module through the user interface. So you can just upload a zip file if you've got installer module turned on. I do like that at least we separated it out of update module. Previously, if you had update module, you could upload modules directly into your site, and that didn't make any sense that was part of the update capability. We moved all of the update, like the code for putting stuff onto your server into installer module. So we moved that out of update and into installer. So at least it's now tied to that one module that project browser and turn uploading modules is all coming from the same place in installer module. But yeah, regarding yeah, making sure these things are valid, that's one of the things that we'd hoped to get into the 131 release that was my goal, but I failed to do it, which is the package signing, which would in theory make it so that Backdrop would only install, or at least would show you a warning if you're about to install something that wasn't packaged through backdropcms.org. And the reason why that is better is because the only things that are allowed to be packaged through backdropcms.org are things that are in the Backdrop Contrib GitHub group, GitHub organization. And that means that we, as the contrib owners, the project owners, and the maintainers, have the ability to fix and delete anything that is malicious in all of the Backdrop contrib space. And so basically we know and can not guarantee, but we can fix any vulnerabilities that exist anywhere within Backdrop contrib. And if Backdrop contrib is the only place that has the packager running, so it's the only place where packages can live, if we digitally sign those with a signature, then Backdrop can validate that signature when it downloads it and can confirm that it came from the Backdrop Contrib group and was vetted by the Backdrop Contrib organization and community. So yeah, totally though. It is yeah, a known thing that right now we just allow you to install any old archive that contains any old code. And yeah, it's currently the developer's responsibility to make sure that you're using that and downloading stuff that you trust. Which, yeah, installer module kind of does that for you, and that it also only shows you, or sorry, project browser only shows you the stuff from Backdrop Contrib, but there's no validation right now. And I personally think that that upload capability should be obliterated because because I really don't trust it. And we get security reports on that feature on almost a monthly basis, that a security researcher comes in and says, I found a way to execute arbitrary code in your software. I upload a module through the interface for uploading modules. And we're like, yeah, we know. And it's a public issue. So it's not like we're spilling a secret or anything. It's just something that has existed in Drupal for 2 decades now. And it's, yeah. It was never a good idea, and just it still has never been removed from Backdrop or from Drupal.
But then if
What-
you've got permission to use that, there's a reasonable chance that you've also got access to the hosting account, and you could just copy something that way anyway. So
Yeah,
I don't think it offers any. there'll be a limited number of people who have the ability to install modules, but that don't have access to the hosting account.
Yeah, I think what we've discussed as a happy halfway point, because there've been some people that like the feature, and in particular they like being able to create a sandbox on Backdrop on like the demo sites, for example, and then upload a module for testing that
Some people are even in this meeting.
yeah. and so the compromise would be, well, let's move it to contrib, the ability to upload an arbitrary module, and then there would just be one additional step that you'd use installer to install the module that allows you to upload a module, and then you could upload a module after you'd installed the module that allows you to upload.
Can you say it again?
So if we make a contrib project that is like installer upload,
Right.
that gives you the ability to upload an arbitrary module, then you could spin up a sandbox. It doesn't have the ability to upload a module, but then you could use Project Browser to install a module called installer upload. An installer upload, then you could turn on, and it would give you the ability to upload the same way that Core provides now. So there'd be like
are you saying there's additional step that forces you to, is that the case?
yeah, there'd be a step of you got to install the contrib module first. It'd be kind of like installing a devel module where it's like, you know,
so for people who want to upload their modules, they will like, okay, before I can upload my modules, I need to upload standard uploader.
I need to install it through the installer browser, through Project Browser. Yeah. So it would exist as a contrib module.
Well, if I don't want to, if I have modules that I don't want to put in contrib, right?
Yeah. So you'd use the contrib module to allow you to upload modules that are not in contrib.
Okay, so this is like additional, it's like if I want to do something with Devel, I install Devel module, right? So I will install additional like module uploader, and then I can upload modules from, whatever, from zip file, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I think that would be good, because at least right now, there's not even a separate permission for upload files versus use the project browser. They're the same permission, like install modules gives you access to the project browser, and it gives you access to upload a file. And if we separate that into a different module, it also gives us the opportunity to make a separate permission for that module. But yeah, anyway, this is all down a big rabbit hole, all regarding the issue 6901 about project names not matching module names. Yeah, I think we've got some thoughts and plans about how to address all of these things. It's just that, yeah, that the effort needs to be done. Okay, let's see that the next item that we've got that was flagged in the forum is issue 3857, image library displaying files that cannot be used. And this issue 3857 was filed quite a while ago in 2019. And it has a lot to do with sites that have been upgraded from Drupal 7, it looks like. Although it looks like Gregory back in 2021 also said that it can be reproduced on a clean install as well.
Yeah, I think the way I understand it can be reproduced is if there's a contrib module in Backdrop that doesn't really use the file usage table.
So yeah, the big well, there's a couple of things at play here. So yeah, Ben, since you have more familiarity with this issue, would you be able to describe the situations in which this problem occurs? That the
Well, I
image
think we
library shows
don't.
the file, but then it doesn't let you actually use it.
Well, I'm not sure that there's an issue right now with hold on. I lost the actual issue, but there was talk about the image library. Basically, currently, I believe it's set so that it doesn't show anything that has file usage 0, or that's the plan, is to turn off the ability to see any files that have file usage 0. And that would prevent the issue where, because there's some concern that, let's say that a file doesn't have an entry in file usage and then it gets inserted via the WYSIWYG. Then if it gets deleted and the WYSIWYG deletes the file usage row, then that file gets marked for deletion. And it sounds like there's a bunch. I mean, I did a query on some of our backdrop sites, and there's a bunch of files that are in the file managed table but don't have an entry in file usage. So there's some fear that basically files that are actually in use via like just HTML links or whatever would get deleted accidentally because of the change in file usage delete.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So there's a couple of things that might be useful for context here. That there is a scenario in which files aren't being used anywhere. That Backdrop does this not great thing. But when you upload a file through the files listing, so that you can go to content files, and then you can just upload a file, and it's not associated with any piece of content. When you upload a file directly like that, Backdrop files a usage in the file usage table against that file itself. And so the file entity says, the file entity says, I'm the one using the file, which is a little bit silly because it basically says that this file will always be in use because the file is owned by itself. And that prevents it from ever getting deleted, because if it was manually uploaded, it doesn't matter if another piece of content references it and then stops referencing it. It shouldn't delete the file, which is what it will do if you like create a node and you upload a file into it, and then you edit that node and you delete the file out of it, and you don't create a new revision. Backdrop will delete that file because that file was used on one piece of content and then it got deleted from that piece of content, so it thinks it should be cleaned up and it deletes it. But
Right.
if you
Well, that
upload
kind of, to me, that kind of makes sense, right? Because when you add something to the file via the file, like add file,
Mhm.
you're expecting that you're adding it to a library of files. So you
Yeah.
would expect it to stick around even if it gets attached to a node and deleted off a node.
Yep.
I found another bug when I was testing this, which is if you create a revision and then you create a new revision and you delete the file, even if you delete that entire node, it doesn't get marked as deleted. So it sticks around even if you delete the entire node in that case.
Oh,
Which
interesting.
is a bug, which I can open a ticket for.
Yeah, it should totally, yeah, decrement the file, because yeah, when you make a new revision, the file usage gets incremented. So if you have one revision where you uploaded the file, then there's one usage. And if you have a second revision that points at the file, then now you have two file usages because each revision has one usage. And it sounds like what it should do when you delete the node is it should count up all of the revisions that used that file, and then it should decrement it one for each revision. So yeah, that does sound like a counting problem. But yeah, there's some good thoughts in here. First of all, the image library should allow you to use a file that has 0 usages. And once it has, even if it had 0 usages, when the node is saved, it should increase the number of usages to 1 at the very least. but that's going to create a regression then where it's like that. But then if the user deletes that node, it will also delete the file. And maybe that file was in use in another location because it was already there for some reason, right? And you were thinking that you were reusing a file when in fact it was getting used for the first time from Backdrop's perspective.
Yeah, I think that's
So-
why some people think you shouldn't be able to add those files from the image library. They should be hidden. I kind of think no, I think you should be able to insert them, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. And there's like temporary files, the temporary state comes into play here too. And I think temporary files also show up because it's pretty easy to end up in a situation where you create a piece of content and then you delete the file out of the WYSIWYG, but then you want to insert that same image again lower in the piece of content. So you want to reuse the file that you just uploaded, but you deleted. And so it's still temporary, but you want to insert it at a different part of your content, then it should be there in the image browser already.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of expect if I upload something in the image library, it sticks around. Even if I delete it out of the node, I still think it should stick around, right? Because it's my image library. It's not really, I mean, it's connected to the node, but it's independent of the node. It's an independent entity. Just like if you have a node reference field, you expect that the other node sticks around even if you delete the reference. You're referencing the file when you're in the image library.
Yeah, so the other thought that I have here is that, especially when coming from 777, it probably really would be wise of us to say, if you're coming from 777 and there's something in the managed file table, at that point where you're doing the upgrade, all of those files should be considered permanent. They should be considered like in use, because that you're upgrading them from 777. Like, let's just say these ones all get grandfathered in. And we could do the same thing that we do for a manually uploaded file and register a file usage against the file entity for that kind of grandfathered in file. And that, but that wouldn't solve the problem for, like, Ben, your existing sites you've already upgraded. How would you grandfather those ones in, because your site's already upgraded from 777, and you've got, according to this comment that you posted yesterday, thousands of files that exist in the managed file table but not in the file usage table.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to write a module that basically just adds a line for all of our Backdrop sites that have a bunch of files in file managed that aren't in file usage. But it kind of seems like Backdrop Core should give you that option when you upgrade, or do it automatically.
Yeah, I think I would be comfortable with doing it automatically when coming from 777. I don't think I
Right,
would,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think that I would say that existing Backdrop sites should just do that, because they'd probably get some files that really are like well, I don't know, if it's marked permanent but the file usages are 0. Yeah. One thing I'd like to confirm though is that before the call, I think we'd mentioned that it's like, if there's nothing in the file usage table, there was some concern that the file would get deleted because the file usage was absent from the table. And I'd like to confirm if that's the case, because I think that it only deletes it when the file usage reaches 0, then it deletes it.
Yeah, it won't automatically get deleted. It'll only get deleted if something gets added to file usage and then removed from file
Yeah.
usage.
Okay.
And we're not sure exactly what the path would be for that, unless the WYSIWYG module starts doing this, right? In which case it or whatever the ticket is where you're able to insert files that don't have file usage, and then it decrements the file usage when you delete that usage.
Yeah,
Then it
which is
would
what
get
it
marked
would
for
totally do.
deletion, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, well, the workaround definitely should be that it should act the same as though you've manually uploaded a file and register a file usage against the file entity. Like that's the guaranteed way to make sure that a file doesn't get deleted, because that's what core does right now for manually uploaded files. Register usage against the file entity. But then, of course, if you delete the file entity, you would expect the file to get deleted. You know, if you go to files and then you click delete, it should delete the file. So it will do that still. But yeah, I guess that still does kind of leave this question of like, you know, should the image library show the usage equals 0 if a file doesn't have any usages? I don't know. I would be inclined to say it should. But yeah, there's a little more nuanced than it seems at first.
I mean, one thing that it could do is it could add, so let's say that you add a file that's in there that doesn't have a file usage yet. It could add a file usage for that node, and it could also add the file usage as if it were added to the file via file add. And then that would kind of solve the issue.
Yeah. I mean, the whole problem here is that we don't know if this is an intentional thing or not. Like a file usage of 0 is expected when the file has just been created on a node, but the node hasn't been saved yet.
Oh, that's a good
surprised
point.
that-
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised that that doesn't already work though. I thought that it did. I thought it did show if a file has been uploaded but the node hasn't been saved, there's no file usage yet. And I thought that it did show up at that point. The file is also
Well, it must show
temporary.
in the image library, right? Well, it's in a different screen, the image library, right?
Mhm.
It's not in the image library yet. It's in that upload area, right?
Wouldn't that make
Yeah.
it
Can you
temporary?
upload more than one at a time? Can you upload more than one?
Yeah, and you could upload like to an image field. So if an image field is on the node and then there's also the WYSIWYG, you could upload to the image field and then it, in theory, will show up in the image browser as well. I would guess. I need to verify that. But that would be a situation where the file could end up in the image browser, but there wouldn't be any file usages yet.
I wouldn't necessarily expect that to work.
Well, and I think I need to look into this a little bit more, but one thing that I think I would be okay with is this like grandfathering in the Drupal 7 files and saying they shouldn't be deleted. Because I think there's just a really strong chance that sites upgraded from Drupal 7 where who knows what was going on, that those files, you're carrying them over, you know, during a big site upgrade, and those files should be considered, you know, these files should never go away because I specifically migrated them, you know, when I upgraded to Backdrop. Tim, you seem like you're kind of agreeing with that concept. Yeah.
Unless you
Yeah,
unless you consciously decide to delete them.
Yeah, there's even already there's already even update hooks to register file entities, because file entities didn't exist in Drupal 7 either, unless you're using media module. But even then, it's not the same as the way Backdrop registers them. There's already an update hook to create file entities, and to make it so that we don't affect existing Backdrop sites with a new update hook, we could just retroactively go back to that update hook that makes the file entities and add another set of checking in there. It says also create a file usage for this file to make it so that those upgraded files are always sticking around. And maybe we should only do that if there's no file usages, because otherwise,
Definitely.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I think
you'd
definitely.
still want it to act the same as before. If you delete the node that contained that image, and you know that that's the one usage, it should get deleted with the content.
Yeah, you know, this kind of brings up another thing, which is I don't know that I mean, I just wrote it's something that we called file remove video that brings videos over from 777. I didn't know that I had to add a line to file usage, so I'm not sure that it's doing that automatically.
Yeah, that is
So, I mean, developers don't necessarily know that file usage is connected to files getting automatically deleted in file manage.
yeah, that is you're right. And that's important that they do know that, because otherwise all kinds of things start going wrong. Yeah.
Sorry, I have to go, guys. Thank you. It was lots of things.
Thanks,
So
Irina.
see you later. Bye.
Yeah, and one other just comment before we kind of close out for today, some commentary on there's just somebody threw out in here that disk space is cheap, which is true. But like there's some camps have advocated for you should just never delete a file, like even if it's temporary, once it's uploaded, like who cares about the space that has been used. But I'd push back against that argument, and that I don't care about disk space either. Like running out of disk space is not a problem that you're going to face regularly in today's world. But deleting a file that was accidentally uploaded or contains private information is a really serious problem of we need to be able to delete a file that should never have been uploaded in the first place. And so there needs to be a mechanism for, I created something I shouldn't have. And sometimes that's actually a node that also contains a PDF or something like that. And you delete the node and it needs to delete the associated PDF because, there's major, problems because people are like, you got to take this down. And if you're unable to take down something that someone has asked you to for legal reasons, you get into all kinds of problems. And I think we know from the experience of new Drupal, where it is nearly impossible to delete a file, that it's extraordinarily frustrating. So we do need the ability to delete files, and they should automatically clean themselves up. But we need to do better at making it so they don't get deleted when they're not supposed to.
Yeah, you know, that brings up a kind of, I wonder if we could do something where, like, if you delete a node that has a file in it attached to it, it just gives you a little warning that says, like, hey, when you delete this node, it's going to delete this file. That could be a good kind of workaround.
Yeah, it would be good. And that, because the delete is already a form, and it already has a warning page there that says, are you sure you want to delete this piece of content? If we could amend to that, when you delete this piece of content, it's also going to delete these files. And so there's no additional step. It's just like giving you more information about what the delete's going to do. That would be really great.
The thing that gets tricky here, though, is let's say that the file's inserted in the WYSIWYG. If it's in the WYSIWYG, I wouldn't expect it to. If it's attached to a field, I'd expect it to get deleted. But if it's in the WYSIWYG, I don't expect it to get deleted.
It will right now, because it tracks. I mean, if it was uploaded specifically on that piece of content in the WYSIWYG for that node, then it registers that as the one file usage is on that piece of content where it was created.
Yeah, see, I find that weird because it's called image library, though.
Yeah.
It's not really a library. I mean, the context here really plays a lot into how I expect things to behave.
Yeah, I think, but I mean, the image library shows stuff that are uploaded into other files too, or into other fields, and maybe that's also potentially confusing.
I don't
that
think
is
it
the
is
way
because
that it
I think
works.
of files as separate things from the node. But yeah, I think it can get fuzzy.
Well, we're all out of time for today. But this was a fun and interesting discussion. I hope that it was discussed to the satisfaction of the person that filed it in the forum. And yeah, Tim, is there a user group meeting today? You want to? No, okay.
Oh, well, I actually have to go to a mid-camp planning meeting, so
Okay.
I think we would normally have been having either the documentation meeting or the a design UX meeting. And Martin was here. I was going to ask him if there was anything for documentation planning, but he left. So
Okay.
basically, I think I'm saying no meeting unless we post otherwise in Zula.
Okay. All right, great. Well, we'll close for today. We're going to get rolling on the release here this afternoon in the next couple of hours. And so, yeah, we'll see the Backdrop 131.0 out shortly. All right.
Great.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Bye.
We'll see you next week after the release.
Yeah, an 8